Now we'll move on to the second chapter, that is contents of the Gita summarized. So this is in Bhagavad Gita there are different topics that are covered, like karma yoga, jnana yoga, of course bhakti yoga everywhere. In this chapter it's like overview is kind of given, like Krishna tells Arjuna about covers everything overall, if we say. But then from next chapter onwards, Arjuna inquires about specific things, and Krishna will explain that in details, or he tells that in details. So contents of the Gita summarized. So we'll go to the first verse. So again this begins with Sanjaya mentioning to Dhritarashtra. Any one of you is available, Matajis, to chant the mantra and read the verse.
Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yeah, you can go ahead, Mataji.
Bhagavad Gita 2.1 Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtham Ashru Purnakulekshanam Rishitantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. Synonyms. Sanjaya Uvacha Sanjaya said Tam unto Arjuna Tatha thus Karpaya by compassion Avishtham overwhelmed Ashru Purna Akula pool of tears Ikshanam eyes Vishidantam lamenting Idam these Vakyam words Uvacha said Madhusudana the killer of Madhu. Translation. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that has overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul. As explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna, this realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, so Sanjaya is continuing. Seeing Arjuna full of compassion, so practically saw in the last chapter that Arjuna was completely overwhelmed with grief because he was not willing to kill his own family members, um, and he was ready to even live as a mendicant instead of killing the other party. So, and he cast aside his bows and arrows, Gandiva, and sat down like he was like Prabhupada in one of the purport also mentioned that he was practically crying. So he decided and told Krishna, that okay, I'm not going to fight. At the same time, Arjuna knew that his duty as a Kshatriya was awaiting him, and that's why there was confusion. Though he was not willing to fight, at the same time he knew that that is dharmic for me to fight here. because he was on the side of Dharma, and he's practically Kshatriya, so he cannot just, it's not very proper for him to step back from the battlefield. So Sanjay is mentioning what's happening to Dhritarashtra. So he continues saying, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Purport: material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. So, material compassion, if somebody is suffering from a disease, some neighbor, let's say, so we may feel very compassionate, like, oh, this person is so nice, why he is suffering from such a deadly disease, why such bad things happen to good people. This is a general question we have when we are not very much educated in Krishna consciousness, then generally we have this question. So such material compassion or some lamentation, if I lose something, I may lament for it, and tears because of some material distress, crying and shedding tears, these are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. Real compassion is what? If you feel compassionate to poor people, generally people give them food or give them some money, give them some clothes, but actual compassion is give them some way, try to make them Krishna conscious, or at least by giving, instead of food, one can give them prasadam, one can distribute prasadam. And instead of giving them money, because money is something we don't know what they are going to use it for, they may just take it and engage in wrong activities. So both they are getting the karma and we will also get the karma for facilitating them. So better is to give them prasadam or give them something by which they can be once used clothes, that one can give, of course, because it is a kind of prasadam from a devotee. Like if you are a devotee, then your used clothes you can give to someone, so that is also it's, but practically some way or the other we should try to give them Krishna consciousness. That is real compassion. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu. Now the word Madhusudana here Krishna is addressed as Madhusudana, and that has a special significance because Krishna is addressed Madhusudana because he had killed, there's a pastime wherein he had killed a demon named Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. So he knew very well. So Krishna was not, Arjuna was not a ignorant person like us, who we do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. But Arjuna knew very well what he should be doing, but somehow he was overcome with false compassion. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. That is, it makes quite sense. Like, somebody is drowning, and instead of saving the person, I'm just saving their, he's wearing some coat, so I'm just rescuing the coat, and the man is drowning, but I'm just focusing on rescuing the coat. So that is not real compassion. Similarly, when we try to be compassionate to the material body, giving all comfort to somebody's material body or material needs, that is not real compassion, because that's not saving that person from drowning. So it's just like I'm trying to rescue the coat of the person instead of the person himself. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra. So practically everybody is a Shudra, isn't it? I remember when I was a small child and my grandfather left the body, so everyone was crying. I was also crying because I was small, very small. And neither I was educated in Krishna consciousness. So everyone was just crying, oh, you went, where you went, why you, something they will cry. So practically we can see from scriptures what is mentioned here. When we are lamenting for the outward dress without understanding that the spirit soul is actually eternal, we are all Shudras, and we know very well that in Kali Yuga, there everyone is born Shudra. Okay, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and his conduct was not this conduct was not expected from him. Now there are four divisions of society, like varnas and ashramas. So ashramas are brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa, and varnas are your brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, and shudras. So brahmanas are considered to be the topmost level. Kshatriyas. Okay, am I audible now? Yeah, I got disconnected from my laptop. Okay, I'll continue from here. So I was saying that there are four varnas and ashramas. So in varnas there are brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, and shudras. So brahmanas are considered to be topmost class, then kshatriyas are also considered a higher class, and then vaishyas are also. But shudras, they are meant to serve the other three higher sections. So practically in the present age, when we are not aware of spiritual life or Krishna consciousness, we are all Shudras in one sense. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct, his lamentation for his family members in this case, was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can decimate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. In introduction, we came across one thing. If you remember, Bhagavad Gita is also called as Gita Upanishad, because it's a song of the Lord. That's why it's mentioned Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul. So we will see in this chapter what's the first step to understand in spiritual life. The first thing that Krishna tells, the first knowledge that Krishna gives to Arjuna, we will see that, and that is practically about the spirit soul, that we are not this material body but spiritual beings, as explained with superior authority Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So this is a very important factor. One who works without attachment to fruitive results. And practically whatever we are attached to in our whole life, whatever we are done and whatever we are attached to the most at the time of leaving the body, mostly one will remember that particular person or thing, whatever they are attached to the most. So this process of Krishna consciousness is giving us a chance to actually become attached to Krishna, devotional service to the spiritual master, to practically the whole process of devotional service is in such a way that one can read, one can study, one can chant, one can do service, and one can have a loving relationship amongst the devotees, and so on. So when we develop our attachment or we increase our attachment to such Krishna conscious activities, then there is we can expect, or there is some chance for us that okay, one can remember Krishna at the time of death. Of course, that is by Krishna's mercy, Guru and Krishna's mercy. So this is very important to work without attachment to fruitive results, practically without attachment. And 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita specifically mentions what is this material world. It's it's explained as a um, inverted banyan tree, and details we'll see there. Okay, so we'll go to the next verse, second verse. I got this. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, meanwhile, I'm just trying some technical things. Meanwhile, anybody has any questions or any points in relation to this first verse? Okay, if not, then we'll go to the second one. I'm able to open. I will not be able to share the screen because I'm accessing from my mobile phone. Anybody, Kanchan Mataji, are you available to read? Okay, do you have the text or please tell me. 2.2.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, Mataji, I can see now.
Yes. You can go ahead, Mataji.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hutasya Kashmalamritam Vishane Santi Samupastikam Justam Ashvadyam Akriti Karam Arjuna. Synonym Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Uta, therefrom, Tva into the Kashmalam, dirtiness, Ida, this lamentation, Vishame, in this hour of crisis, Samopasthitam, arrive, Anarya persons who do not know the value of life, just practice 5. Ashwadyam, which does not lead to higher planets, Akruti infinite, Karam, the cause of Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, this conception of the absolute truth is explained as Vedanti tat tattva vidas tat tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmiti Bhagavan iti sabdayate. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These, these three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the daring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sundays, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas or the Transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth are the topmost Transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth or engaged in the same subject matter, the sunshine, the sun and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. Also, this first Mataji,
Hare Krishna.
should I read this paragraph also, Mataji? The Sanskrit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll discuss then because
Oh,
it's a long verse. So yes, thank you, Mataji. We'll discuss then. Okay, so this is very important verse because Prabhupada in the Popat gives the meaning of Bhagavan. We might have heard in our childhood Bhagavan, but what is actual meaning of it? Prabhupada gives here. Okay, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for previous verse, Sanjay was mentioning like how Arjuna, seeing Arjuna's condition, the Lord spoke something to him. And what is that? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said. Now, generally, at least in my childhood, God, there was no specific distinction. Shiva, Chandra, Indra, whatever, sun god, Krishna, and everybody, generally Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, they used to say, no. But there was no specific distinction, like all of them were considered to be God. Hmm? But when we see here, the Sanskrit meaning of Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Prabhupada is mentioned in English as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one may consider, technically, if we see, others are demigods, but there is only one God, or to make it very clear, it's mentioned as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's Krishna. My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. So Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, they are considered to be higher class. So they and Kshatriyas, they are considered to be, Aryans. We will see there will be some particular paragraph in one of the verses. So they are expected to know the value of life. They like earlier times, the kings, they were what, Rajarishis. They were not just kings, they were kings as well as they concern was they wouldn't just see how the citizens will be nicely settled in their material lives, but also they would set example how the citizens can practically progress in their spiritual life. So they lead not to higher planets but to infamy. So Arjuna's decision not to fight wouldn't take him to any better position, rather it will lead to infamy. Purport: Krishna and Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he is addressed as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. And Bhagavan, or the Supreme Absolute Truth, can be realized in three phases, and that is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, or his personal form. So, what is that Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan? Brahman is the impersonal aspect. So, the impersonalist who consider that okay, God means he's just a effulgence, he's just a bright light. So that's all for them. So that is the impersonal Brahman. And Paramatma, so those who perceive the Lord as um, as Paramatma is present in everyone, in all living entities. So that is the second level, and the highest level is Bhagavan, or one who understands that okay, Krishna is the supreme personality of God. It is a person. He is not an impersonal form, or he is not in as Paramatma, all in all beings and all. So they are all his plenary expansions, and the effulgence is effulgence coming from his transcendental body. But behind all this effulgence and everything, there is there is a personality, and he's the supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And Prabhupada, and if you see in any book of Prabhupada, he is not just saying something out of nowhere, but he supports his statements by quoting from the scriptures. So from Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is mentioning this verse: the absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So they are all referring to the same person. He is the supreme person, but in different aspects. So in order to make us understand in a better way, Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. So somebody who is trying to study about the sun, one may just study the sunshine, the effulgence in one sense, or the sunshine. So um, for a student of a lower grade, he may consider the sunshine to be all in all. Now one who advances little further can understand that there is a sun's surface. So the sunshine is coming from the sun globe, or the sun surface. One who understands the sun surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. So one who understands that we can see the sun in the sky, or so that one who understands also this is a sun globe and all, that is a little higher than somebody who understands just the sunshine. And even higher or advanced student is one who understands okay, inside the sun there are living entities like whom we call Surya Dev and all. There are living entities, and there is some predominating deity there, and so on, one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, glaring effulgence, so they may be compared to those who understand only Brahman feature. Now, further advanced is one who understands the sun globe or the sun surface. They are like Paramatma feature, they are compared to those who have understood the Paramatma feature. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth, are the topmost transcendentalists. So, we can understand our good fortune that we didn't have to go through Brahman or Paramatma feature understanding, first understanding about Brahman, then Paramatma, then coming to become devotees. But by mercy of Prabhupada, we have directly come to the topmost level, that is to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, our engagement is okay. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. So that is understood, isn't it? Like the sun, sunshine, they are all the from the sun only the sunshine comes. So they're all somebody who's studying about the sunshine, somebody who's studying about the sun globe, somebody who's studying about what's inside the sun, whatever. They're all studying about the sun, but there is different levels. Just like if you are if somebody is studying in a school, so one is in standard 1, standard 2, standard 3, so they are all studying, but somebody who's standard 1 in grade 1, they are not having that much higher into, like a small child. If you ask a small child, 4 minus 6 is how much? So what will the child say? Are you crazy? How can you subtract 6 from 4? Isn't it? But somebody who is like in 8th or 9th or something, little higher grades, then they will say, okay, 8 no, so 4 minus 6 is like minus 2. So it's something similar, uh, um, like depending upon different grade, though they are all studying maths, but there is different, as per their level they have different understanding. Okay, so we'll continue with the next half of the puppet. Anyone else would like to read? Nisha Mataji, would like to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
The Sanskrit word Bhagwana is explained by the great authority Parasamuni, the father of Vyasdeva. The Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagwana. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very detached. But no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahm Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagwan Lord as Govinda, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karamnam. There are many personalities possessing the quality of Bhagwan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the venerable Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahm Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Iti Chaspa Kalah Pumsha Krishna tu Bhagwana Shyama Indradi Vyakulam Lokam Madrayanti Yuge Yuge. All the list of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith or are either plenary expansions or part of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavad Gita 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the truth, absolute truth, the source of both the Super Soul and the impersonal Brahma. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsmen is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kuta, therefrom. Thus, impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who, from a person belonging to the civilized class of known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagwan, and they are captivated by external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. There, although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryan. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in the world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, so we left from here. So the meaning of the word Bhagavan, as explained by Parashar Muni. Parashar Muni is father of Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is literary incarnation of the Lord. So what does he, how does he define, how does Parashar Muni define the word Bhagavan? One who possesses these 6 opulences. What are these 6 opulences? All wealth, strength, fame, beauty, wisdom or knowledge, and renunciation. So one may be a famous person, one may be considered to be a very strong person, but nobody can claim that he's the richest person in the whole world for forever. It so happens that now last year somebody was the richest person in India or in the world, and after a few years somebody else takes that position of being the first the richest person in the whole world. So nobody can claim that they possess all these 6 opulences to the highest degree except Krishna. So and that's why he is Bhagavan. Only Krishna can claim that because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Shiva or Narayan, Vishnu forms also, nobody can claim to possess all these 6 opulence to the highest extent. So therefore it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one is equal to him or no one is greater than him. Now this is a verse from the Brahma Samhita. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is a supreme person and his body is eternal, like Sachidananda, as we say, like it's mentioned. Sachidananda Vigraha. So eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss, Vigraha, and he is a form. Then Prabhupada quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, and practically this particular verse is actually kind of emperor verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. All other verses are revolving around this particular verse. Sometimes in certain verses may seem contradictory, in certain places even a great personality is also addressed as Bhagavan sometimes. So one may be confused, why he is addressed as Bhagavan here. But if you remember in introduction, Prabhupada had mentioned something about the word Ishvara. Ishvara means controller. So we are all in our small circles in a family. Maybe the head of the family is kind of controlling, so he may be considered as this tiny Ishvara, at least he's controlling. But there is someone who is the controller of everything, that's Parameshwara or the Supreme Lord. So it sometimes little confusion we may get, but the essence or the deep meaning, if you try to understand, all the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam revolve around this particular verse, that Krishna is the supreme personality of a Godhead and all other incarnations are avatars, but Krishna is the actual avatari. He is the one from whom all the avatars come. So therefore Krishna is the original supreme personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the super soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the supreme personality of Godhead, now Krishna himself is present with Arjuna on the battlefield, just by the side of him in the same chariot. Arjuna's lamentation in such a situation is not very proper. So Krishna expressed his surprise with his words. Of course, Krishna knows everything, but he's perfect in everything. So he is perfect in playing the role of a friend. He plays the role of a son perfectly, and similarly he's playing the role of a friend perfectly. So he expressed his surprise there, that how such impurities, how such thoughts came to your mind, like you have come here to fight and you're a kshatriya, that's your duty to fight, you're on the side of dharma, you're fighting. So how are you thinking about just giving the battle? So the word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. So Aryans, they're like the Kshatriyas and all, they are it's not that they are just in administrative power, so they have no knowledge about spiritual life or anything. No, in every step they take guidance from brahmanas, and they are properly educated how to lead the citizens in a way that it can lead to their spiritual progress also. And unless the leader himself is Krishna conscious, he cannot lead others to be Krishna conscious. So they are all um, uh, very advanced in the spiritual life as well. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is the realization of the absolute truth. So we do not know our actual self-interest is in Lord Vishnu. And they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. So in one sense, previously we saw Shudras, who are lamenting for the material things, who do not know the actual purpose of life. So they are also addressed as like non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve the so-called compassion of Arjuna. So we should also understand very well that we should have proper understanding where, in what form should we apply compassion, and where it's not suitable, where it is suitable and where it is not suitable. So we should have a proper understanding of it. And how do we get that? We get it from scriptures. If you see Bhagavad Gita, we will get to understand that okay, whatever Krishna wants us to do, that is our actual dharma, that is what we are supposed to do. It's not that whimsically I like to do something or I like to eat something, I go for it. No, what will please Guru and Krishna, that's what is everything. So yeah, this is a very important thing, that blindly we shouldn't be compassion. We should know how to apply things in proper way. Okay, I'll stop here, and I'm sorry for taking a lot of time of yours. Thank you so much for joining. If anybody has some quick points to share, then you can please go ahead, Matajis, or you have any queries, then we can quickly discuss it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhanyapada.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhanyapada.
Also, no doubt today, Mataji, because you have so beautifully explained and everything just bombarded in my mind. Thank you so much for that, Mataji. Also, Mataji, I would like to add that um, like we all are so much in material bondage or in illusion that we really don't know who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this literally helped us to know who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who is Bhagavan. So Mataji, this verse literally helped me a lot, and also I have made a note of it. So thank you so much, Mataji, for this. And also, Mataji, you said no that material world is something parallel to spiritual world, or like this. Can we explain, Mataji, like is material world a just expansion, or it is something like that? I forgot because when Mataji told me about this, that material world is just um, a parallel or just an invented of a spiritual world, just a uh, something it was. It can explain Mataji what makes material world different from spiritual world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Yeah, we should be all thankful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us these books, for giving us Krishna consciousness, for giving us ISKCON, and for giving us such wonderful spiritual masters. And yes, the word meaning of Bhagavan, practically, at least I never knew what does the word mean. Okay, Bhagavan means some supreme lord, but it's not something blind, but we see what's the real meaning of the word Bhagavan and how that is applicable only to Krishna. So yes, uh, I was not very clear what you asked about the spiritual world and the material world, they're parallel or something. But actually, material world
Yes,
is considered to be a
yes,
perverted.
Mataji. I was asking this only, like, what material world was made? What makes it different from spiritual world? I forgot this Mataji. Please kindly, you know, recall it. I forgot. I know there's the answer. Like, what means difference? What difference is in between of material world and spiritual world? Like something parallel or like this. It
Yeah.
was
Hmm.
the answer or something else.
Like the material world is said to be a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. I can try to say with some example. If I take a plate of prasadam for you, but okay, let's say I'm just sending you a photo of prasadam. So it's like a reflection, or in the mirror you are seeing prasadam reflection. You cannot eat, you cannot have it from, you cannot take that prasadam, you cannot take a gulab jamun from the reflection and eat. If I send you a photo of prasadam, you cannot eat from there. But you are wanting to eat. So that is what is material world. But the reflection shows that there is real prasadam. So that is the spiritual world. So this material world, whatever we see, different relations and different whatever we see, they are all uh, perverted reflections. Like for example, people say, okay, I love you, but here in the material world there is no love, it's lust. You scratch my back, as long as you scratch my back, I scratch your back. As you know, once you don't provide me sense gratification, I also don't provide you sense gratification. So this is the actual love exists in the spiritual world, but in the material world it becomes perverted, and that reflection, that perverted reflection, is lust in the material world. Just one example. uh, so yeah, that is what we can say. This is like a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Did that help you, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Actually, I forgot this particular word, this perverted reflections. Recently, I've heard this, but my like small buddhi just forgot it. Thank you so much, Mataji, for recording this to me. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hari Krishna and Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your question. Yeah, we all have that forgetful brains. So, thank you for making me recall as well. Okay. Pramila Mataji, do you have anything to share or mention anything? If not, then we'll close for today. Sorry, I took a long time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.